Wow.
You know, so good, right?
Dialed. Holy.
Hi, welcome back to Unique Minds of the Okanagan. I'm Rob O'Day, and we are on location in Revelstoke with Logan Williams, a local action film editor, musician, and producer. He's all around creative and mind-blowing. How are you doing?
Dude, I'm doing wonderful. Thanks for coming, Rob.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Let's dive into your story right away. So,
Yeah.
where are you from?
I grew up in a little town called Newmarket, Ontario. There is not very much going on there. We could pretty much skip over like year 1 to 17 because I don't think anything's really super important in there other than picking up instruments as a kid and getting kind of involved with that. My dad comes from a musical family, so I kind of got introduced to that at a young age. But when I turned 17, I joined my high school's mountain bike race club, their XC team or whatever, and within probably like 2 months, I was hooked super, super fast, and then spent the summer after senior year just mountain biking every day. And I was supposed to go to University of Waterloo and do the engineer thing and go that route, and that's kind of what I thought was sort of my only option, and that's what I wanted to do. But after sort of picking up biking, I was like, nope, I think that's cooler. So I bought a plane ticket and moved out to Banff, Alberta on my 18th birthday, and yeah, pretty much just I moved out there with the drummer for my high school band. His name's Matt Longstaff. Matt, if you see this, I love you. You're the best. But yeah, we moved out together, and we'd play music occasionally and hang out, and that was sort of my gap year. I deferred my acceptance to Waterloo, and by the time January rolled around, I was like, no, there's no going back. This is the spot. So I reapplied and went to school in Kelowna for engineering for a couple years. And that's sort of where I picked up film. I had been interested in GoPros and all the little things you get into when you're starting to do action sports, you know, because you want to capture it. But within my first month of my first semester of university, I had a pretty heinous mountain bike crash on a dirt jump that me and my friend were building, and I broke both my arms, and I couldn't bike for like 6 months. I was like skiing in arm casts for a while at Big White, which is pretty funny, but what I thought was like the most disastrous thing that could have happened ended up being a massive blessing, because I still wanted to be involved in the scene and still doing the biking thing, but without being able to bike, the next best thing was filming. So I just got head over heels in that. And yeah, within a year, that was like my entire life. I was just obsessed, you know? You go out and you have this vision for what you want to get, and you get something and you come home and you tinker with it and try to put it together in the most interesting way. And that's still kind of at the core of everything I do. You know, it's just like pushing yourself there. It seems like you can kind of just keep going. So yeah, after like 2.5 years of engineering, the summer before my last semester, I decided to go full freelance in the film world and just try to get as many contracts as possible and eat a lot of rice and hang out and film mountain biking, and it worked, shockingly. And then I went back to school for one more semester, and I was having to turn down film work, and I didn't feel my heart was in it anymore, and I was like, this is dumb. Let's just go do what I know I want to do. So I moved up here to Revelstoke. I had done a summer here in between semesters a couple years prior, and I knew it was the place to be. And yeah, just sort of hit the ground running and have been filming as a full-time job ever since, with skiing and mountain biking and snowboarding and all that stuff. And yeah, now I have this beautiful studio space as of late, and I'm able to elaborate on my sort of music production as well, which is really awesome. I've been doing that since high school. Yeah, so the beauty of that is I can soundtrack all my own films now, which is beautiful. I can write and compose all the music and tweak things as I go, and just it's another hand in the pie, you know. You can be as specific as you possibly want, and when you go to show it to someone, being able to be like, yeah, no, that is like as close as you can get to being inside my head, you know, like from start to finish. That's how I see the world and hear it, which is pretty cool. So yeah. That's my story.
It's a really cool history, because like usually musicians will stick to music and eventually branch out.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you're a musician at first and found film through the love of sports.
Yeah.
Because I have a friend who we recently interviewed, Dave Mine. He does the same thing. He was the guitar player for one of my first bands, and at one point I just noticed he went to film, and it was always sports and like extreme sports and like clinging off of the side of like a piece of ice with a camera, and I was like, I tried to put myself as a filmmaker into like your guys' shoes, and like it's a total different eye. It's kind of weird looking at film like music genres. Like you have the different genres of filmmakers, right?
It is. And like you really need to be in touch with what you're trying to capture if you want it to work at all, which is the same thing with music. Like you can't really fake being a punk artist, for example. Like you really need to understand the ethos of punk to produce anything that's really worth having any attention on it, right? And that's the same thing in the action sports universe. I think you can get around it, but all of my favorite mountain bike filmmakers are amazing mountain bikers, and they ride all the time, and they're out digging trails, and they're like, that's the center of their being, right? So like there's no fluff, and when you watch something they've created, it feels exactly like what it feels like to do the thing, you know? And I think there's a lot of similarities between music and film in that regard. Like you can't fake it. And same thing with skiing, you know, like it all has to translate. You sort of have to know what you're looking for. I think getting super into film and then coming back to music, and honestly music is sort of my main priority right now, but it's all of those lessons that I had to learn the hard way through film, and all of those screw ups I had to make, and gear I had to break, and all of the crap that you go through. It's totally transferable, not even just to music, but to just living as well, right? Like there's so many fundamental, like core lessons that you can extract from it, and as long as you're continuing to learn, it's never a loss, right? Like I've broken so much camera gear, like it's actually kind of insane, but like if you're just, it's just a slightly more expensive way of learning valuable lessons that you'll take with you forever, right? And I think the arts are really powerful for that. I think people underestimate how important they are. Like when I was going to school to be an engineer, you're sort of a snob. You're like, well, I'm designing the buildings, I'm designing the cars, I'm doing the important stuff, you know? But creatives run the world, man. Like if the best inspiration I've ever had for designing anything mechanical has come from listening to a song that I was stoked on or whatever, you know? Like I think it's so core, and you look at where we'll be in like 1,000 years, and maybe the buildings will still be standing, and maybe the cars will still be running. They probably won't, but their art will still be on the walls, and people will still be listening to music, you know? So
that's kind of what we talk. We've been like, I've noticed the show gravitates more this last couple episodes where I speak to people who are more not just like little bits into the music industry, but full on, whether it's film or whatever their art is. And you kind of see that there's a weird connection between like the grind and the hard work and the vision, and what separates true art is what really defines us as a culture. Because we look at the paintings like the Mona Lisa, like we're in an age and time now where we can record and put out art to the world, whether it's film, music, and it kind of will transcend now because of the internet. Unless the internet completely disappears and we have like an EMP and we lose everything, like our art will be able to transcend just kind of like the ancients' art, and that's what defines our culture. And dude, I think that we have a young culture, right?
Our art's in space now, man. It's like gonna carry on forever. Like you're I think there's a quality to it that makes it's powerful to know that you're creating something that will you never know who it's going to end up resonating with. I think that's the most powerful thing to me, you know? It's like if you're creating something that genuinely speaks to you and it's authentic and it's your vision, you know, if it speaks to one person, it could change their life completely, you know? Like I look at this project I've been working on for the better part of 3 years, and it was inspired by a mountain bike segment from 15 years ago, right? And I got introduced to it through a filmer. His name's Scott Secco. Check him out. He's like the greatest mountain bike filmmaker ever, besides Ryan Gibb and Derek Frankowski, but they've created this film called Life Cycles, and there's a segment in it where they've got a dude in a zip line with a red just flying down inches off the ground, like it's gravity-fed zip line system, and mountain bikers swerving in front of him, and almost the entire segment is this cable cam system they were using. And for literally the better part of 3 years since I found that segment, my summers have been spent building a mountain bike trail to be as similar as that, so I can document it with my own system. I've like built a cable cam system from the ground up using like mountain bike components and just welded it all together, and have this like inertia brake system that I use with the drivetrain of a bicycle. And it's like all of these different little projects and ideas, and like probably the better part of 600 hours trail building was because these guys 15 years ago went out in the mountains, scratched in a trail and filmed it, you know? And it's, I think if I'm able to do for one person what they did for me, like that's the sickest thing ever, right? Like it completely changed the way I look at film.
I find it funny that you were going to school for engineering too.
Yeah.
Because like I feel like you have to be an intelligent person and mathematically accurate and be very good with numbers to be able to be an engineer.
For sure.
And for you to like make your own pulley system and thing, that's the engineer in you. And
Totally.
it's like you were meant to be an engineer, just not to build buildings. You were meant to create your engineer art.
Yeah.
And engineer what you see in your head into film and transcend to pass that on. And I think that it's funny because it's like the engineer in you naturally comes out, whether it's audio engineering,
Dude,
as a producer, right?
It's
so
the same itch.
You couldn't escape
Yeah,
it, but it's just
yeah.
you were meant to be an engineer for something else. So it just kind of makes me like, it makes me smile because like the fact that not many people would be able to be able to take that concept from their head and be like, oh, that's a pulley system, or like that's the camera's flying down, and be like, how can I recreate that and then build it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not from like scratch and pieces, but like that takes a very unique creative person
For
to be able.
sure. And I mean, I've taken lots of inspiration from other people too. Scott Bell, he's another filmmaker on the island. He like made this video like probably like 4 years ago on how to make a cable cam, and it's this super sketchy system. He's like making a vibration isolator out of like Ethernet cables and stuff, and but like, I don't know, it's an incremental thing, right? It's not like I just went from not having anything to being like, and now I welded this thing together and I have this braking system. Like it's
You have to break it down.
But that is engineering too. It's this incremental process. But yeah, whenever I talk to people about going from engineering into filmmaking, I like to say that being a filmmaker it's like, how do you say it? It's like being an engineer, but you're not creating, other people aren't creating problems for you, you're creating the problems for yourself. And I think we talked about this earlier, but you get to decide exactly how elaborate you want the problem to be, and that normally dictates how elaborate your solution needs to be as well, right? You come up with all of these requirements and you're like, okay, I need the light, I need the sun to be exactly here, and I know that I want the person to be wearing this, and I know what f-stop I want my camera to be at, and I think we should be moving at this rate of speed, or whatever, you know? You get all this like stuff lined up, and if you can see it in your head, right? Which is the same thing as engineering. You'll dream up a thing and you'll see it in your head and you'll be like, okay, what needs to happen for that to be real? And then yeah, you just start tinkering and eventually you have a thing. And it might not be the thing that you saw, it might be better. Sometimes it's worse. often it's worse.
Yeah, and you gotta work on it still.
Yeah, it's always about you trying to make as few compromises as possible. But sometimes it ends up better. Like I directed my first sort of short film a couple of years ago, and it was my first experience like writing a screenplay and wanting to really go the full directorial route. And being specific like that while working on effectively no budget is tricky, man. And I think of all the things I learned from that is, yeah, compromises are often in your favor if you allow them to be, you know? Like, yeah. I don't know, we had this massive conclusion that I had scripted out and I saw it so clearly in my head, and then we ended up breaking the vehicle that we needed to achieve that conclusion on the day. But I realized thematically in the story, it made more sense for it to break anyways. And it actually resonated more with the message we were trying to get across. So it was like, oh, hell yeah.
That works perfect.
That's going in. Okay, we'll use that on the spot. And I think, yeah, there's a lot of parallels between engineering and filmmaking in that respect, you know? Sometimes those happy little accidents are actually end up being the best part of what you were working on.
That's the same thing with music.
Same thing with music.
Yeah, like some of my favorite songs in history have a slight out-of-tune note.
Dude,
or
yeah.
things like that. And it's like perfectionism has, I think, destroyed creativity. Especially nowadays with like the social media having to be constantly feeding out content, that it's really hard to like to make something that's a masterpiece nowadays versus just something that's popular.
I think making a masterpiece is just making something that is like unapologetically true to yourself, irregardless of what other standards people have put it up against, you know? Like in mountain biking, it's really easy to get carried away trying to be the coolest guy in the room. You know, you'll see someone else doing something really interesting or really cool or even just really provocative, and you're like, damn, I want to do something like that. Even I get caught in that trap. You know, like when I started building this trail that I'm going to be shooting shortly, I just wanted to make the life cycle segment again. I was like, oh, I want to do that. That was so cool, you know? But through the process, you're like, no, I can do my own thing. It can be fully on its own, and that's what made them doing that cool in the first place. It wasn't like anyone was doing that at the time. And when it came out, people were like,
why?
What the hell is this?
Yeah.
This is weird, you know? But I think that's what you need to do. There's no objective truth to music, and there's no objective truth to film. You just need to make something that resonates with you and hope to God that you have good taste and that it's going to click with someone as well.
Yeah.
But even then, the audience comes last. You need to make sure that what you're making is real.
That is a very good point, and I think it's like a lot of musicians and don't think about that too, right? They're so focused on writing a song that is going to make people happy that they forget like writing music and creating art is for you. At the end of the day, it's for you to make
completely.
And if people enjoy it, that's amazing.
Yeah, man.
Because there's like for film, I've always loved skateboarding movies, and snowboarding documentary videos and stuff, and I've tried to do really botched, no budget skate films with friends and stuff, and the moments that really mattered are the ones that like you're spending 5 hours watching them trying to hit the trick and they finally get it, and just that joy on their face and being able to capture that moment so that they can look back on that. And it's almost like I look back on the videos now and I still see that happiness, and if they watch it, they still get that happiness. Yeah, man. Even if it's like a board slide from like, and on the smallest thing, but it's like,
but it's real.
It's genuine, and you captured it, and that moment is very. Yeah. In a world that's like things are coming at you, it's nice to be able to take a minute and just step back, look at the whole picture, and like capture something that's just magic. Yeah. And that's what I love about filmmaking. Yeah. Even like the show of just genuine conversations about artists, because if you can get more than one artist to think, and then you have multiple ideas firing, and it's just like that goes out to the universe, and through the universe itself will maybe plant the seed into somebody who becomes the next best filmmaker we don't even know about. So
it's just spitballs, man. It's it's sort of this like self-fulfilling prophecy thing. It's beautiful. I don't know what I'd be doing if I didn't have film in my life.
And it's crazy because you're still relatively young. You're 23, you said, right? And so within 4 or 5 years, you've made yourself from moving to BC and Alberta to creating a business at home where you live off of it and get to enjoy it. And like, dude, you're like, I get to go on a trip. I might just take a trip for 3 months. And it's like to be able to be 23 and be able to like, that's inspiring. Yeah. Because like me at 23, bro, I was touring doing music, but I wasted my potential by like drinking and like being just not like thinking of a focused future of like what my vision was. It was just kind of too much in the moment. True. And as like a musician, it's hard to like, because it's so fast going and you're constantly thinking of the future, as where with film, you're really in the present. And you have to be in the present. You're not going to capture those moments.
You're not going to get something that's real. Yeah, for sure. It's definitely like, for example, back in like January, I like cut social media completely out of my life. So I don't have Instagram anymore. I don't have Facebook anymore.
Has that been beneficial for your creativity?
For 1000%. There is like, you can do whatever you want in your life to make your life healthier or better if you're still using social media. It's like that comparative bug will always be there. And yeah, I look at like sort of the trajectory I've been on. Like I think that has to be the correlating factor, because literally since then, like I've started a band, committed to my film career like a lot more professionally. Started a studio, almost done recording an album, almost done soundtracking my first like full-length project, doing all these different things, and I think it's because I'm just not spending any time worrying about what other people think, you know, because that's just like the killer. You can't, you just can't.
Yeah, no, you can't.
And yeah, I don't know. Sorry, I don't know how we got on that, but I don't use social media, kids. It's bad for your brain.
No, it is. It's a battle too, because like, do you find it's hard to, because you're stepping away from social media to be creative? Is it harder to market yourself because you're not online?
I couldn't have done it at the beginning. I have like sort of a steady enough stream of returning clients now that people are generally reaching out to me. And if they're not, then I'm able to sort of occupy my time with my own projects that I just look at as like a personal investment.
Does it go onto a website or YouTube?
Yeah, it goes on YouTube for sure. Although it's funny you mentioned that. I am playing around with the idea of doing physical art installations as well. Like I look at some hip hop groups from the 90s. I think it was Wu-Tang. They like, it was either, or maybe it wasn't Wu-Tang. The story's kind of escaping me now, but there's a group and they just made one copy of the album, right? And it got distributed around between libraries and all these different places, but there was only one version of it. So you had to go to this physical place to consume what they've created. I think the idea was that no one could own hip hop, right?
Yeah.
Like they just had one, and so they'd rent it out to libraries and all these different things. And I look at film, and it'd be interesting to make a film and have it attached with just either you can only watch it on a TV in this location, or you have to go scan a QR code to do it or something, making it a bit more like intentional, you know, like you have to sort of search it out. I think there's some interesting stuff you could do with that, but all of my like sort of big projects, I like to get on YouTube at the end of the day for sure. Once we've done like theater tours and premieres and all that stuff, which are my favorite part of any project. If you get to see it on a theater screen, man, it's always cool. You see things you didn't even see while you're editing it. You're like, oh, look at that.
Because it's huge, right?
It's
like,
massive.
It doesn't matter how big your editing screen is when you get it on a big screen. Yeah, no, it's. I can imagine how amazing that would feel. It would be surreal just to like.
Yeah,
emotional, right?
I'm stoked to finish my ski movie with like all my own music in it as well. I haven't done a premiere with like music I've composed yet, but once it's done, fingers crossed, go to Banff with it. Fingers crossed, go to Vancouver with it, and to be able to see it in a theater and be able to sit, like watch the credits roll and just have Logan Williams and then all the crap. I think that'd be a pretty cool thing to have, you know?
Yeah, and I think that like that's the goal, right? Especially as a filmmaker, is to like with bands, it's to have that physical album and to get on the stage and perform it.
Yeah.
And with like filmmaking, it's to like either release it or have it be seen by masses, because it is, especially with sports, like one film that has always stuck really true to my heart and has been a favorite snowboarding film of mine. We actually just recently introduced to our son is That's It, That's All.
Oh.
Travis Rice's film. There's just something about that documentary, the way they filmed it, the heli shots, it was just magic. Or Girl, Yeah, Right. Like that was another one that just struck me as like they were doing something that no one had done before, and it was that cinematic joking of like the stairs exploding at the beginning, and like or sorry, that's Fully Flared.
Fully Flared.
Yeah, so Fully Flared when it's going off, and it's like those moments are just kind of like that's what made that movie to me. It wasn't the skate parts, but like when you see like Mark Johnson playing to like doing to his skate to that one song, Goodbye Horses, it's like that's magic. That moment of like that skate, those shots with the song, it was so well thought out, and could not have been better, whether you added anything or took anything away. And I think that's, at the end of the day, that's the hardest thing as a filmmaker is, and a musician, an artist, is when is a project done?
Dude, that's massive. I love hearing you talk about sort of when you're hitting the right song with the right part, because that is for sure the hardest quality of any film project, like for sure. And I have my own way of sort of looking at it. I call it clip resonance. If like it just needs to resonate, right? Like if your song is hitting like a certain way, you could probably assign a frequency to that. And if a clip is hitting a certain way, I don't know how you'd assign a frequency to that, but I bet that if you were able to and you were to compare them, when it's really working, I feel like there needs to be some sort of scientific explanation for why that's happening, you know? Because some stuff just works, and you're like, damn, I don't know why, but, and it's also subjective, you know? Like your personal experience, the way you've lived your life was going to dictate how you consume that media as well. But I do think there are some things that objectively work, and it's like, damn, like they couldn't have chosen a better song for that part, and like having it cut there works so well. And like between clips there's resonance too at your cut lines, right? Like even beyond just like making sure your subject's in sort of a similar spot, like there's, you can get really techie with it, and
you can get so lost
so
in it.
geeky and fun. But that's my favorite part, and being a musician now and being able to contribute to that sonically and not just have it be like, oh, well, this song kind of works, but I don't really like this part. Like I used to do quite a bit of remixing. If I'd use a song for a part, I'd be like, oh, I like the second chorus more because like I just like the way it built more. So I'd like flip choruses or do whatever, you know. But now to be able to do it from the ground up, I think you just can get even more specific with it. And yeah, you're chasing magic, you're chasing that resonance.
It's crazy. It's cool to think about frequency too, because frequency is everything has a frequency.
Yeah, dude.
Everything in the world vibrates on a resonance, and music is a really weird one because it can invoke any emotion. And with film, you see the emotion, but to translate the audio to the visual is a very tricky thing.
It is.
And like one of my favorite parts of all time is I think it's from Still Bastards. It's J.F. Pelchet's final performance, and I think it's to Don't Stop Believing. And it's not a lot of big tricks, it's not a lot of bangers. He wanted to be like sick. Go back to that genuine of like going through trees and hitting pow, and like he just wanted to capture the moment of like, I'm finally done. I don't need to have like a banging spot for a video. It's just I want to embrace why I love snowboarding. And it was almost like you want to cry at the end of watching it, because you know it's like he's done. And it's like he's done so much in his time, but like they wrapped it up so perfectly. And it's just like it takes a really good filmmaker to do that. Dude. Anyone can pick up a camera, but like you said, but even with the cuts, like there's I love the way you say clip resonance, because like I can understand what you mean. Some people may not understand, like it's the emotional factor that clip is bringing out. And to match that resonance with an audio resonance is very difficult. Dude. And it's like the cuts too, because you can, if you hold on like too long, just a millisecond too long on a scene, it just like that emotion's gone. Totally. Man. And if you're doing it too soon, you can't. That's what makes good directors and good filmmakers and producers is like you can't fake film, and like that's why I kind of don't like talk shows and stuff, because it's very like fake, you know what I mean? But
yeah, it's not super real, you know. And there is sort of this trend happening, especially I see it a lot within the action sports world these days, but it just seems like the pacing of edits is getting faster and faster, and people are really hesitant to hold on to shots and let them breathe. And I think there is parts of that are influenced by social media and wanting to make sure that you're grabbing people's attention, you know. Like it's hard to find a mountain bike edit these days that doesn't do like, I hate this word, but they call it like a sizzle reel before like the actual part starts, and they'll just play milliseconds of the 15 sickest hits immediately before a super fast cut, and then start the video, and it's like, it seems like such an obvious play to the audience, you know. And as an artist, it hurts a little bit, because it's like you felt obliged to do that a little bit, you know. Like you're like, no, wait, stay, and now watch, you know, which is. I try to avoid it, and it also seems like people are starting to really subscribe to like the Michael Bay school of editing these days, where it's just like going the whole time super hard. And some of my favorite bike films from the last couple of years, like some of the segments are literally a handful of shots, and they're just held for the perfect amount of time, and they're never super long segments, and it's just like it said what it needed to say, and then it moved on, you know. And it keeps going, and I feel like if you're aware of that, you can make a lot more of a statement. If you're not in a rush to make sure that no one leaves your video too early. If you're just there doing your thing, saying what you need to say, I think the right people are going to stick around.
That's what really matters at the end of the day.
Oh, dude, yeah, they're going to get what they need to get out of it.
I like to think of it as like with action sports and like skate videos, snowboarding videos, biking videos, you have to have that build up. It's kind of like EDM. You got to have that rise and fall and that tension release, because you can't just like bang a shot. Like that means there's no like
world building.
There's no dynamics to the actual segment, because like some of my favorite shots are, like you said, are like either drone shots or like follow cams that are really long shots, because it's the full ride. It's like kind of like if you're recording and you were punching in instead of doing like every take, full takes, so you could break down and take your favorite parts. But you're doing like, oh, I'm just going to do the best of this part, the best of this part. And if it's not the best, I'm going to delete it and keep going. And it's with film, you can't do that, especially with like sports themselves, whether it's extreme sports or team sports. You have to be present in the moment, because you miss it. And if you're over focused on like, oh, we need to make our edits this, so we need to make sure our shots are this, then you're not really being like letting that creative juice shine. And it's difficult to navigate those waters as a filmmaker too, because like as you want people to watch your films, but you don't want to give up your core values as an artist.
My sort of like personal mantra for the last couple of years is like, if anything ever gets sticky while you're filming, or it seems like something's not working for whatever reason, you kind of just can't figure it out, and normally it presents itself as like just running out of steam, you know? But if it feels that way, the thing I always come back to is like, you can't make something be something it's not. And if you're trying or expecting something to be something that it never was, like you're missing the point in the first place, right? With mountain biking, that happens a lot. Like you'll come in with a specific style that you like to capture biking in, you know, and it'll be visually engaging. And like I like to, when I make a bike video, I try to make it pretty. You want to make it pretty. You want to make it, when you see the shot, to be able to go like, whoa, like what the hell is even going on there? That's so interesting. But there's sort of like that doesn't translate to all varieties of riding, right? Like a lot of the DH guys, like just like the straight pan and zoom. Just give me like a whatever tape camera, and you're just gonna start up here, and you're gonna follow me through, and then you're gonna zoom in when I'm going away, you know? And it's like, I think that works really well for capturing certain sort of breeds of the style. And it's the same with skating, and it's the same with snowboarding, you know? But you want to find an artist that's gonna resonate with the athlete. And I also look at athletes as artists as well, you know? Like once you get to a certain level, like you're making a statement with whatever you're doing, right? You're kind of painting a little bit. But that's something I struggle with. I don't hesitate to kibosh projects. Sometimes I'll go film a project, come home and be like, I don't want this to not be what I wanted it to be, and I can't force it. And I'm also not necessarily interested in it being what it is. So sometimes you just need to sort of like call it and be like, all right, well, we're going to get them next time. And you always learn something, you know, but it's a hard one to learn. To have to kibosh something is hard.
Do you ever get hit to a point when you're editing, and like you said, you get to that point where you're just like, it's not where I want? Do you ever just restart and adjust the clips in different ways and see if it inspires?
Yeah, I try not to as much anymore. I'm normally like pretty intentional and a lot more sure-footed when I edit these days. Like if I'm sitting down to edit, there is a core idea that'll propel it sort of the whole way through, and it generally, for the most part, works. Sometimes it doesn't work, but I try to avoid that. But man, yeah, like especially in the first couple of years, I would re-edit a video start to finish probably 3 or 4 times before I'd release it, to like make sure that I had gotten it as good as I could have possibly gotten it. Like fully changing songs, doing whatever, changing your color grade, redoing all the sound design, whatever it took, you know? But being self-aware and knowing if you've got more in the tank is really important as an editor, to be like, all right, well, like this kind of works, but it's, what else can I say with this, you know? And you can also go too far with that too. Like you can totally shoot yourself in the foot and get into like pretentious territory and just turn yourself into an asshat, trying to do too much with too little, you know? But I try to avoid that.
Yeah, it's definitely, especially if you're not like planning out the shots that you want ahead of time, because naturally you're going to get those like magic moments that you're filming. And it's like the B-roll that just like is amazing. But if you forget one one specific little shot, especially like with a music video.
Yeah.
You can't go back and to do that because it's like,
No.
it's hard. And it's definitely difficult with film to like put it out there and be 100% happy with it.
Oh, you'll never
at
be.
the beginning, and that's and like always looking back at it, meaning like there's parts of the documentary, our very first project, I look back and I'm like, we had a really good videographer on our team helping us that time. And then like I've always tried to like replicate what Rylan sees.
Yeah.
Because he as a filmmaker, he's amazing. His eye for documentary style shots is just like, he just gets the right down angle on the second cam, and like the lighting's dialed in, and just like as a person who's like, I'm better with the creation of the idea and making it happen, for me to learn how to become the behind the camera editing kind of guy as like a professional aspect has been like so many hats to like to learn. Like you said, like color grading is one thing I'm like I struggle immensely with, because like I feel like I'm really bad with colors. Like there's just some colors I can't see. So like when I'm trying to bring things out, it's like people are like, well, why'd you bring so much out? And I'm like, because my eye sees it differently. And like, I think that looks good. But like to normal people are like, you did way too much saturation or like way too much color enhancement. And it's like to find a balance of like what your eye sees that actually looks good is also very tricky.
Yeah, that's like stylistic nuance, right? That's with like any art form, is to like to know when there's enough of something, and not necessarily adding more takes away a lot of the time, right? Like, it's sort of knowing
the fine balance.
Yeah, it's like,
but you have to make mistakes to find that.
I could put more reverb on my guitar. The dial continues to go past where it is right now. Would it elevate the song? Yeah. You just like, it's good to have a theme to come back to, right? And be like, okay, is it servicing this? No? Don't worry about it. Skip it, right? Like, man, with music, I do that all the time. I love having just a bajillion tracks going on at once. I love getting super, like, and not to the point where it's confusing or there's too much going on, but it's when you go to listen to it and you can start to pick out the layers and all the different melodic ideas happening at the same time. That's sort of where I find the most pleasure in producing. But you really have to know when to relax and be like, no, let's strip it back. I want like 4 layers here. So that when everything does eventually come in,
comes in beautifully.
Yeah, it's subtractive creation, right? And that's totally the same with film. If you start chill, it's like any good Nirvana song, dude. You start really chill, and then you go ape in the chorus, and you're like, yes, now it's happening, and now it's quiet again.
Yeah, the bridge, and then it comes back in for a final chorus. And it's done.
Yeah, you chill out. Yeah.
When it comes to filming, and like I've done filming where it's like snowboarding and skateboarding, so you're on the board as well and your hands are free. But when you're riding a bike, how are you actually doing like the follow cam? Because I know you're not using a GoPro because you want like the highest quality.
Yeah, so I'm never doing like follow cams necessarily on a bike. It's not like I'm biking with one hand.
So you're
like
finding specific
like
angles that you're wanting.
You're finding angles that you want, but then, so that's also the whole reason behind designing this cable cam system that I use as well, because that is as close as you can get to riding a bike with your friends.
I wonder if you could build like a back.
You can't. So
rig.
Scott Secco.
Okay.
He's got this insane back rig he used in a project last year. I think it was it's like your Tilta like 4D arm or whatever attached to like a full harness backpack rig and then a red on it. And then Max McCullough was riding in that, who is a really talented filmmaker and also like a fully pro mountain biker for Rosignol. So to have both there is crucial, because he needs to be able to keep up with like a racer, right, an athlete riding in the video. But he'll ride in front of him and they're pointing it backwards, and they have a remote operator, and it's going pretty sick. I don't have one of those, but I do have my cable cam system that I built, and I think I still prefer that system, just because you get your locked off vertical axis when it's on a backpack. Even with a stabilizer, you get some,
you're still getting a little wobble.
You get some jorble, you know. But the cable cam is sweet. I've got like You got your wireless transmission, and then I've got a DJI Force thing. And you mount it to your monitor, and you put your monitor on your tripod, and when you spin your tripod, it spins the gimbal the same amount. So you've got like full, it's almost like you're in your guy from Life Cycles 15 years ago, you're in your harness, you know, you're almost there. I still think there's a human element that makes that really cool.
That is super cool.
I'd like to explore a zip line at some point once I have less regard for my forearms. But yeah, right now the digital option's pretty sick. And I still like the gravity system. I have so many theories with all this stuff, but I think having it be gravity fed, you know, not accelerating at like a unnatural rate of speed when you're on like flat ground is important, you know, to be able to like be accelerating at the same rate that the rider would be accelerating at naturally going down the mountain, I think translates the coolest effect to those shots. Right now, the sort of the project in the works is wrangling that speed. So I've got this like inertia brake thing that I'm chopping up, and it's pretty much just using mountain bike parts to control the descent of it, and you have a shifter and a hydraulic brake, and it's all attached to the trolley, and you can slow it going down the line. And I've got like I'm probably going to program a Raspberry Pi with like a radar sensor on it that senses the tree at the end of the line, and it'll send off like a chirp once it gets close enough, and then that's where I know where my braking point is, and I can just manually slow it down with like a mountain bike brake that I've got mounted to the tripod while I'm operating it. It's still remote control, you know, and just doing all the nerd stuff.
I love it, dude. That is it's insane.
Yeah,
It's mind blowing.
I think it's gonna work.
And this is where I love. This is where I kind of like. I love this conversation because like that's the engineer, and he was just like breaking every part of it down.
Yeah.
To like the smallest fragment that'll make the shot work.
Exactly.
Just the specific shot.
Yeah.
And like to even think about that, the camera has to go at a specific speed to catch that natural riding movement.
It's a resonance, dude.
People don't think about those kind of things, and I think that's like what separates you from a lot of other people, especially at such a young age. Because like, 23, you've been doing it like as a business for 4 years, roughly.
Yeah.
Dude, I can't even imagine when 10 years and 15 years down the road, like where your creativity and this brain of yours that is just firing on all cylinders is going to take you. It's amazing to like, to see the different people's perspectives, especially filmmakers, because like, I don't like to think I'm a filmmaker. I make a TV show that's talking to people who are creative, who are way more creative than I am.
It's not a competition, man. I qualify you. You can't.
No, but like on like a mental, so I look at it very like textbook when it comes to film, and you're taking film to like a spiritual,
a little bit
universally, like there's something else there that people like.
There is.
Yeah, like how I feel about music, you feel about film, and I
sure.
see that and feel that passion transcend, and it's like, for me, it's hella inspiring because film is something I've always loved, but I've never fully clicked with, and I'm starting to now the older I get, and like. I'm 35 and I've done this for now like 4 years on and off, and it's like I can see the message evolve in my film, but I haven't seen the visual, and that's because I still have to find my eye, and I think it's just like what I want to create, because I also do like we do paranormal investigating as well. So we're filming weird things on the side, but so like even trying to create a story out of that that's worth watching, and it's not just footage being put on YouTube, because that's one thing I hate is like there's a story we're going in to tell, and we're trying to like at the end of it trying to help. So it's like how do you take something that a lot of people don't think even exists, first of all, and try and make it to a point where it's like it's genuine, authentic, and tells a story. So like for me, it's really inspiring with sports because it is very like you have to capture that moment,
dude,
and tell that story, right? And that's kind of how I feel with the investigating. Is like it's an investigation. Like we're going in and there's points and like key things that have to be brought up and taken care of, and how do we go about those solutions like you find, right? So it's, for me, it's kind of like putting the pieces together with the string, right? And I'm like, I see what you're doing, and I love it because it's very like, it's almost like my friend Dave Vine. He's always been such an inspiration for me, and he's like a couple of years older than me, and he's been doing it for 15 years, and he does the same thing as you, where he's like, he has to get this vision out.
The shot.
And it's like he doesn't care if he's 45 feet hanging off an ice cliff upside down just to get the shot. He's it's insane what you guys put yourself through, and like the adrenaline factor that's behind it is just like
It's big.
it's totally different than what I do. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's like, whoa.
And not necessarily more important or better. It's just different.
No, it's just like it's more. It's a like I said. It's like I'm like sitting in the textbook, and you guys are sitting in like this because you're like you have a spiritual aspect to it. It's almost more inspiring to watch.
It's like I call it like a compulsion. Like you don't know why you need to do this, other than the fact that you just need to do it. And the only way to do it is to just like go out there and mess it up a handful of times, and then eventually you do it, and you're like, oh crap, I did it. Let's do it again. And
I think
then
it's
you
kind
just
of like
keep going.
it was. Also, I feel like it was kind of. I'm a heavy believer in manifestation.
Oh, dude.
And I feel like because you found what you wanted and you put that out to the universe, like I went to school, I'm not what I'm feeling, this is my passion, this is me.
Yeah.
The universe is like, here you go, bro.
Pretty
Take
much.
it and run with it and see what you can do.
And like I think even just like on a personal level, you know, like I agree, I see karma and manifestation happen all the time. But I think it's like I never try to break it down analytically or like if I do this I will get this in return. I think it's just like on an operational basis, I try to be as sick as possible to every single person I come across, you know? And I like we talked about this earlier, but I think the best way to make your life better is to make the lives of the people around you as sick as possible without overexerting yourself, you know? But if you can bring people up and it doesn't really change anything in your life, do it. And it'll only ever come back to you, and it comes back to you in the weirdest ways that you never would have expected, but it's just a good way to live, you know. And then that has a big effect on manifestation, because then like there's more people around you doing the thing that you're interested in, so it's inevitable that opportunities are going to happen, right? Like, oh, you want a music scene in your town? Start a band. See like 6 other bands start within like a couple months, you know, like play a couple shows, get fired up, get them stoked on it, and watch it happen. Like one thing I really want to use this studio space for as soon as possible, ideally, is to like run a little film school for teenagers or even just people that want to learn how to use their stuff with authenticity at its core, you know, and like how to pretty much a lesson in how to be yourself, because I think that's what creativity is. It's just like it can be a terrible idea, but as long as it's yours, you've created something, man.
I've made a lot of terrible ideas.
Yeah, but then you have to. Dude, I couldn't count how many terrible ideas I've had, but you can't assess an idea when it's at its inception like that. You just have to sort of commit to it and be passionate about it, and you never know where it will lead, you know? Like some of my favorite songs I've ever written started with like the goofiest, dumbest guitar lick that I could come up with because I was intentionally trying to be dumb, you know? And it's just like, oh, this is kind of goofy and funny. And then you never know where it's going to go. So like people get caught up in it all the time, you know, like, well, that's not good enough, or I couldn't do that, or like I might as well like that's not working, I'm just going to like completely restart. But if you're at the beginning, there's no way to know. You just need to go with it, and something will happen if you commit to it hard enough. I'm a firm believer that if you're in on it, regardless of where you think it's going to go, something's going to happen, and it's probably going to be cool. Yeah.
And creativity, this is where like you were saying earlier, like creatives rule the world in the sense that like if it wasn't for us inventing drums as cavemen and being tribal and like creating art itself, like what is art? You know what I mean? Like we've been drawing on walls since we were tribesmen, and it's in our core to be creative, and I think that that's really what is like what defines us as a different species in evolution, is like our creativity. It's not because we can make tools, because apes can create tools, apes create language, they have the same things as us, but it's the art that we create, and that's each person has a different little like a spice, you know what I mean? Like someone's dill, like we all have these little elements to us that create this unified thing that we call art, and it has more value and weight than all of the mass in the universe.
Oh, dude.
And that's what like it's in, like we were talking about one person. I was showing Meg, have you ever seen the video of Santa Gold performing at Sasquatch? And this one guy is standing on
I have seen that.
and all of a sudden he starts this huge dance party.
Yeah, dude, I've seen that.
That's the power of one person.
Yeah, man.
And I don't think people realize, like, should not be in your vocabulary. I can do anything I want as long as I work hard enough.
Dude.
You can't not put in the effort and expect it to happen. Like, you have to fail.
Yeah.
You have to. Like, I know people nowadays just want instant gratification, but, like, you need to fail multiple times in life. Dude. Not only to develop yourself as a person, but, like, as an artist, you need to make crappy songs that no one claps to at the show and is like, boo, for you to write the one song that everyone can connect to.
Yeah, it's like being an artist is such a cumulative process, right? Like you're always learning and you're always sort of changing your style. And I think that's what makes it interesting, or what keeps it fresh, you know? If you're willing to be like, okay, I want to try this new tool, or I want to explore this thing, or have a gear goal. You know, I always have a gear goal. I'm like, okay, I need the obsession with the little tools and ways to do things is kind of what got me stoked on it in the first place, I think, you know? Like, oh, that's an interesting lens. I really wish I could have that. So I want to make it look this way, you know, or it has this quality about it. And kind of chasing that has always been a bit of an obsession, and like that continues for sure. But I don't know. I had something I wanted to say. Crap. You were talking about the guy. It was before the guy dancing. No, I forget.
ADHD brain.
Yeah, a little bit.
Right, I'm the same way.
I've been pretty good wrangling it so far.
It'll come back, you know, in a minute, and it'll pop in.
Yeah. Either way, just having stuff on the go all the time, like you say, making mistakes is important. Like, oh man, I've made some like soul crushing mistakes. I was on this heinous snowboard trip a couple years ago that was documenting 5 snowboarders pedaling from Terrace to Alaska.
Oh, wow.
From Terrace to Haines in the middle of winter on like the Alaska Highway. You're way out in the middle of nowhere, and I made the crucial mistake of just like not vetting the people on the trip. Like there was a handful of guys I hadn't met outright, and you're on this thing, and I knew 2 of the snowboarders, and they were homies, but I hadn't met like the other half of the crew effectively, and I was naive enough to be like, no, it'll work out. And it was an opportunity I didn't want to pass up, you know? Sure enough, you get out there, man, and you're in like a high stress environment day in and day out. It's like a month and a half, and these guys are pedaling, and there's just massive transport trucks and logging trucks. There's no shoulder on this highway. It's the middle of winter. It's snowing the whole time. You can barely sleep. It's like you're roughing it. And sure enough, yeah, it imploded. The group dynamic, it just completely fell apart. There was like hands were thrown. People went crazy, and I ended up having to like hitchhike 9 hours from northern BC to like Whitehorse with all my camera gear, a month's worth of living equipment, all my ski stuff, all this crap. And eventually you get home and you sit down and you're like, okay, well that happened. What the hell do I do now, right? Like you've gone through all this stuff, and you can either like kind of sit there and kind of grovel about it and be like, oh, my life sucks, this is terrible. Or you can be like, nah, screw that. I'm going to use that to fire me up to make something more sick than I've ever made before. Like, you just can't let it beat you. And then sure enough, I like turned around and made, like, still to this day, the project that I'm the most stoked on for sure. Like, we made a massive footprint in the mountain bike sort of like freeride history. And we were, a mountain biker named Hayden Zablotny. We worked on this project together all summer in Kamloops, and it was like, by the end of it, he ended up flipping this like 80-foot step down that no one had hit in 15 years, and like people were stoked on it. And I look at that transition, and it was like 6 months from hitchhiking to Whitehorse to premiering this video in the theater in town here and being like, look what we did. This is insane. No one's ever done this before. And I think using that as fuel to your fire is huge. You have to let it just spur you on. And knowing that people are waiting for you to fail is kind of a great motivator as well. Because there's always going to be haters. As much as you want to be stoked and bringing everybody up all the time, there's going to be someone waiting for you to fall. Right?
Or even just to like get something out of you to get further, which is really like, that's where I get frustrated. It's like, because I'm in the same way where I'm always trying to help people, and then it's like you said, you don't expect, like you don't, when you do something, you're not doing it so that somebody gives something back to you. You know what I
No,
mean? Like, you're doing it out of the love, but it's like at the end of the day, the universe will give you something back. But I'm guilty of doing things for people and being like, I wish they would give back. You know what I mean? But then at the end of the day, I realized like, hey, like, this moment right here is me getting that given back to me for those moments, right? And I kind of got to like be humble, a little more humble about like
being
how other people are.
Yeah, being open-minded about like what a gift from the universe might look like. Like, I look at that snowboard trip experience, ultimately kind of a gift from the universe. Like, nothing I have in my life I would have right now if I hadn't have had that.
Went through that hell.
You know, like, you really kind of sometimes need to remember what rock bottom feels like, and it makes you assess why you're doing the things and how you're doing them. Right? I think it's super important.
Well, not just that too, like how young you were, and to be like completely alone in the middle of winter with all this gear by yourself, and like
twice your age,
hitchhiking. Dude, like that's like a stress factor that like I don't think a lot of people will ever see or deal with, right?
Probably not. Yeah, that was about as heinous as I think
like
it's
that
gotten.
is just you with you. That is you finding yourself, and no one else is there to help you. And I think that gives like such a valuable strength that most people won't ever get.
I guess so. There's like there's a resilience that comes from that, and I don't know. It's something I still struggle with, but like you just put in. You just got to be able to put in the work and know that as well. Like, I'm a sensitive guy. Like, stuff sticks with me forever. You know, like from childhood and all this stuff, and being cognizant of it and not just going your macho man. No, it's just gonna make me tougher, dude. It's like, no, you need to feel that fully if you want it to go away. You know, like you can't just ignore things. I think that was a really powerful reminder of that. Like, I needed to really sit down and process what happened and be like, okay, why is this making me feel this way for this long? You know, like, let's really figure out what's going on here. And I think having that sensitivity and being in touch, with your own emotions and not just kicking rocks, I think is pretty important as an artist too, because you figure out how to speak to yourself, you know, and you can hear your monologue and be like, okay, why am I feeling this way, and how can I put this into something that might help someone else stop feeling this way or something. You know, music's really powerful for that. If there's like a truly emotional core at a song, I genuinely believe it's like when you're writing it, it's coming from kind of somewhere else almost. You're like channeling this thing and it's coming out and it's already there. You're just, when you're recording it or playing it for the first time or whatever, it's like the song was already written and it's just coming out. And I think really being in touch with all of your different emotions, you know, it could be rage, it could be sadness, it could be hope, it could be whatever, you know, but if you're able to let yourself feel that fully, you're going to create something that's going to resonate with it. For sure.
Meg can vouch, because like with the recent hip-hop EP I had that I just wrote and released, it was very, for years I talked about things that weren't real, and it kind of steered me off from writing music for a long time, at least hip-hop, because I've always been in bands, whether or not, but like hip-hop, there's something valuable about hip-hop that you can spread a message way easier than rock music or metal music. And for me, realizing like, I think it was just me growing up, becoming a dad, and like kind of just maturing as a person. But like the message I wanted to spread through music was more like, because I personally battle with mental health issues, was kind of like, hey, you can have really bad moments in life, dude, and still come out, like you can have 30 years of terrible choices life and be like rock bottom and still 2 years later come out on top, 6 months later come out on top.
Yeah, man.
So it is very like, you have to inspire, and that's like inspire. And when you say like you want to turn this space into like teaching people to pick up an instrument and find themselves, like that is what we as creatives, and I talk about it a lot recently in the show, is it's almost our duty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we have to do that, or it's not, like it's never going to continue, and then we're not going to have those free-spirited creatives down the road in the future. So I really hope that being yourself doesn't become a lost art form, you know? Right?
Like, I think that's the most crucial thing, and I think, as like cliche as it is to say, but in the age of social media and whatever, influencers and all this stuff, I think it's sort of becoming status quo that, they wear that company shoes, they wear that company clothes, you know? Like, I want to be that. I want to look like that person. I want to sound like that person. I want to be them, you know? I think that's a really slippery slope, and I think as artists, yeah, like the best, if you want to be a good influence, the best thing you can be is yourself. Like I look at all my favorite musicians and yeah, they're just so unapologetically them, sometimes to their fault, you know, sometimes you watch it and be like, oh my God, Mac DeMarco just stuck a drumstick up his butt, you know, like we got some problems, but
there's a lot of weird musicians out there.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too, they're just like, they themselves are like, because they're in the spotlight, I think people tend to like over glorify musicians, but musicians are usually like the most messed up people with the most messed up backgrounds, and the reason we write good music is because we're messed up.
You've got that history. Yeah. I might just go close the window in that bedroom if that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, just run out.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
just got the saw running. I'll make it a little quieter. There you go. A little better. Sorry, guys.
No worries. It is a weird concept, and it's like we were talking about the power of one, and there's a very valuable commodity in like musicians being able to change the world, and now film is becoming the same kind of concept, because for years film was used as like entertainment purposes, not unless you're like really into documentaries, the type of documentary person or docuseries shows. It's really hard to find something that has like a message that isn't forced down the throat. So like scripted films are always have to have their like wrap up story, and it has to end up with a happy ending, and it's like a lot of life doesn't end up like that, and that's why I'm like drawn to the documentaries, is like or like where you have to do research and like really like topics that people don't want to talk about,
the ugly
right?
truths.
Yeah, because it's like you have to at the end of the day talk about that, whether it's like my art's based off of all, you're talking about a great, you have to embrace every emotion. Rage is my number one motivator. When somebody makes me mad or tells me I can't do something, or like is like, yeah, you're never gonna do that, I thrive in that moment.
You're
that
like, let me prove
that's
you wrong.
spiteful, and it sounds bad because it is very like, that's a negative way to go about being an artistic, but it's like that's what pushes me to be better, is like being told I can't do it.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean? And it's like with film, I tell myself I can't do it, so I'm pushing myself harder as a filmmaker versus I'm a little easier on myself with music.
Yeah, I think spite is a really powerful motivator, and I look at some of my favorite projects I've done, like my project with Hayden, for example. After that trip, you know, I was sort of out of spite of everything that happened. I was like, no, screw that. I'm going to make this insane thing. And anytime there would be like a moment of sort of like, you're feeling like you're kind of faltering a little bit or you're losing your footing, you're like, no, we're not going there again. We're making this happen. But I think like after we made that project, I experienced like the worst burnout I've ever experienced in film, even beyond what I felt after the Alaska trip, you know, because it's like you reach this absolute peak and everyone's so stoked, and then you kind of come back and you're like, well, what the hell do I do now?
Always trying to achieve that high,
you know, and like you've sort of peaked out. And I think what I've taken away from that is like, if you can make out of love, not spite, you tend to not hit those things, and it becomes nostalgia for what you created, not a longing for you to relive it, you know? You just become grateful that you had those things and you're able to document them, and it doesn't, like, you can have some separation between your art and your life, you know? Because there was a time there where my art was my life. That was the only driving force that I had, you know? But it's good to be diversified in your motivation, you know? Chasing the next best thing with film is a good way to never want to make videos again.
And I think it's kind of like with music, right?
Dude.
You can't try and write the heaviest breakdown or like the most like poppy song, and just to make it so that people will enjoy it. Like we said, at the end of the day, it comes down to like, you have to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And if it's not true to you, it doesn't really matter.
No.
I can tell you right now, easily 400 songs on one of my computers that are unreleased, unfinished, and no one will ever hear.
Dude, same.
Right? And that's the thing, is like,
yeah.
To me, those are special. There's also songs that I keep hold that I've never released that are just for me, to get through certain times. And I'm like, if I release that, no one's gonna understand what the song is. So it's like, it's my special little gem.
Yeah, man.
That I just listen to when I need to, you know. And
I totally do the exact same thing. I think it's so sweet to have that. You know, I'll write songs for people. Like, I'll have a great experience with someone, and I'll be like, I want to write a song that makes me feel the way that made me feel, you know? And yeah, 95% of the time, the only person to ever hear it will be me. But if I'm able to achieve what I wanted to achieve, it's like amazing. Now, anytime I want to have, if for some reason that person doesn't live close or I can't see them, whatever, you know, like you can tap back into that. And I think you can kind of capture it in a bottle a little bit, which is pretty cool.
It is.
Pretty cute. Yeah, art.
With your journey as a filmmaker and creating it as a lifestyle for yourself, what's been the most difficult thing for you to separate from life and film?
To separate from life and film.
Because you were saying that at one point it was hard for you to distinguish the two. How did you work through that?
Music.
Music is what helped you?
Yeah, like I've always played music, but it wasn't something I took that seriously until honestly like last summer. So I made that bike video back in like 2023, and then I directed sort of my feature film thing the winter following that, and then the summer after that I was just like, what the hell do I do? Like I've done these kind of like 2 back-to-back like massive things, and I said screw it, I had some money and I bought that. My amp. And I hadn't had an electric guitar in a while, not since high school, because I just didn't have space to be loud, right? But I was like, screw it. I found this like 80s Japanese Strat, that guy. Nice. And I was like, we're getting an electric guitar again, and I really want to start recording music. And I just wanted to see where it would go. And within like 3 or 4 months, that was like every day I'd wake up, I'd write a song, I'd record it, and then I could go off and do whatever. But that as like a central thread, that then all of the film and action sports, and I'm a big mountain biker, so having all that going on, outside of that, it's a way more consistent thread to live off of. Because it's the release is almost immediate. Like if you sit down to write a song, as long as you're open-minded and don't have any expectations about what you want it to be and are allowing things to just kind of flow, you can have a song pretty damn quick. To do that with a video, it takes months, and it can get like it can feel like you're just working towards nothing. So I think having an art form that's a lot more immediate made me realize it's like, oh, I don't. Well, it's not that I don't need to put in months of work to do this, because I also want to do film, but you can get there through different ways, right? Which was awesome, and it reminded me that I can be a creative person. I don't need to box myself into just being a filmmaker. You can do everything, you know? And then from there, you just like, I started a band, and you realize that all of the cool and interesting things that you want to build your life around are just good excuses to hang out with your friends. Same like that for music. That's almost 1,000% the reason I do it. It's like, it's a damn good excuse to just mess around with your friends. And sometimes you get something really cool out of it. And I think coming back to mountain biking after sort of learning that is like, it's the exact same thing. Whether you're going for a ride, it's such a social endeavor, or if you're trying to capture it, it's like, you should rope your friends into it and make something cool, man. It's it doesn't need to be this hyper serious. It can be groundbreaking, but it doesn't need to take itself. It doesn't need to proclaim that it's groundbreaking. You know, you can break ground pretty silently. Yeah, so I think that was really important. Just discovering what art can be outside of pressure, and realizing that's kind of like the best place to live with it. You know?
I think after putting out 2 really incredible projects back to back too, is like, because it is film and it takes a lot longer, and I feel like it takes a lot more brain power, because you're constantly having to worry about so many different little things. As where music, you're just letting the energy out. As film, you're just trying to create this feeling through every element, whether it's the narrating, if it's like, there's so many elements
you have
to
to
film.
orchestrate it.
That it is very defeating to even get to the final results, as where music is like, it's constantly like this. It's the moment you pick up the instrument and you strum, it's gratifying, but then it just continues to go. And I think it's just the creatives in us are always trying to push the hardest out of ourselves, that we kind of like need to humble ourselves and realize like, you can make something that's not to the best of your ability and it's still great. And especially with music, like, as a musician who does metal, I'm forced into a box that's very, you've got to constantly be pushing the sound, the industry. You can't go backwards. Like, you can't go back to being like a Metallica metal band nowadays and expect to make it. You're gonna have to push it, and in an industry that's constantly being pushed by so many different areas, that it's really hard to be authentic and find what is your sound. And this is where I love film, because with film you have no limitations to what your film is.
Yeah, man. It's
like
just,
you like I do action sports. I scripted a film.
Yeah.
Like, you can go in so many different directions, and like if you got bored, you could go into commercials for local companies,
For sure,
and like
man. Yeah.
music videos, and like that's
the whole
there's so much to it, and I kind of think that like you'll never be like stuck into a wall, like where other filmmakers can get stuck, where they're like, I don't have a project idea, so I've got to think of it as where you're like, I can just go with my friends, have a great day,
dude,
and that turns into a piece of magic. And I think that's more valuable than trying to like create this perfect project, right?
Yeah, it's like I've sort of come to realize there's sort of two things. Just because something was hard to achieve doesn't necessarily make it more valuable. That's one big thing. That was like a realization I had after the Alaska trip, where it's like, okay, that was like as intense as you could possibly try to make something difficult for the sake of making it difficult, and it did not make it more valuable. And then also, like, in the last couple of years, I've realized, and none of my favorite projects are imitations. You know, like, it's never like they're going out trying to make it seem a specific way. It's just that was already happening, and they captured it happening, and that was the way it felt as it was happening, so that's the way it's presented. You know, like, you really can't fake it, especially in mountain biking. Like, it needs to be real. It needs to be something that someone's already honestly kind of doing. And then as a filmmaker, your job is to recognize when that is at a point that it's like, okay, and now we're going to make sure that everyone sees what the hell's going on, because that is so sick. And knowing when to step in, and knowing when it needs a little more time to simmer too. And then sometimes you need to cultivate it from the ground up. Like, there's not really a freeride community in town here, or at least there wasn't really one for like the last 2 years or so. But just going out and building features, like the trail I'm building, I classify it as like a freeride trail. It's got like massive jumps, these like big old growth trees everywhere, like lots of loam and all this stuff. And it's like, if you don't want it, you can make it, but it needs to be real. You know, like, it needs to be something that you genuinely believe in, and then people will get involved. People will see you doing it, and the momentum will be there. And once you've already sort of started it, like the guy dancing, right? Like, sometimes you got to be the dude dancing on his own for a little while, and then people pick up on it, and they're like, that looks like fun. I want to do that. And then sure enough, you have like maybe you have like a 10 rider film crew, and you're just running around making spots all the time, you know? And like, that can happen quick. And all my favorite crews that have sort of assembled in the last decade or so, I've realized that you can't imitate that. That was an organic thing that happened, you know? And it's real, and they're all friends, and they're just out there messing around. And trying to be like those guys would rob yourself of the opportunity of being yourself. You just need to do it, you know? Yeah.
That's a great point, because it is like, and downhill biking and like biking itself is growing more and more and more every year. Yeah. Like, I grew up doing BMX racing with the gate drops and stuff. Like, that's what I did growing up, and to like understand a course and be able to read it while you're riding it is also extremely tricky. So it's like, there's a lot of hard work that goes into even before the camera's rolling. Oh, like, dude. The amount of bails, the amount of hours spent riding the trail just to be able to figure out the perfect line is what you guys go through and put yourself through. Like, as I used to skateboard, and I always just like, I'm not a good skateboarder. I'm a good filmer. I'll film, but like, to throw yourself in the air, bail, get back up, do it again just because it's fun is like, that takes a whole special breed of person.
You got to really want it. You really got to believe in it. When it's working though, it's like, it's the best. There's nothing like it, man. At least that I've found. I think there's a lot of similarities between skate and mountain biking stuff. Like, I love watching skate parts. That's probably one of my like favorite sources of inspiration for biking, is like not even bike videos anymore. It's skate clips. There's one called, I think it's Spirit Quest. There's a segment with Connor Cameron, and that's like a massive inspiration. Once I've done my trail and everything, I want to do a video like that, man. They're using the sound of the skateboard from the clips as samples in the song as the song's happening, you know? So like the dude will just like firecracker down a stair set and there's your drum fill. Like they'll build it into the song. And I think having a music studio and being a mountain biker, I look at that and I'm like, oh, I want to do that with biking, but just like take it a completely different direction, you know? But yeah, I think skating probably gave birth to a lot of the attitude of sort of like the core mountain bikers of today's generation. They
like
go
the
back,
MX teams and stuff. Yeah,
they go back and look at skate videos from like 15 years ago or whatever, and they're like, "That's sick. I'm gonna wear baggy jorts, and I'm gonna wear Vans, and my helmet's probably broken, and I'm gonna keep wearing it." And everyone wants to be the most roach. It's kind of the race to the bottom, which is pretty funny. But there's totally skate and biking is like kind of it's the same culture, just like different environments. I think all the bikers out here are just like skate kids that weren't born in a concrete area. You know, it's like the same release.
It's a really cool like to be in Revelstoke and get to embrace like not just the music side but the creative side, and like coming from a place that is very like beach oriented and it's like a beach paradise and music. It's like coming to a place that's like sports oriented and like extreme sports is like, for me it's mind blowing because I never like genuinely understood Revelstoke until I started coming here, which is like the third time I've been here.
Yeah.
And this is the time that I've realized like how it's always been beautiful, but like this is a hidden gem. Oh, there is like Revelstoke is just beautiful inside and out, and like thinking it was just a snowboard town, and it's kind of like you realize there's so much more here.
Man. I know it's cliche, but like the people are 1000% the reason this place is as sick as it is. Like I'm honestly kind of like over the ski thing. Like I know that's why everyone comes here, but it's like it's cool. It's like it's a weird battle of expectations, though. You know, like people will hype it up as being one thing, and you come in and you want it to deliver on that, but it's not real. It's not reality. I definitely clash sometimes with sort of like with the area that I work in. You know, like you're almost expected to do just as much marketing as you are like creative film projects, because a lot of the time that's what pays the bills, right? And I know some people will disagree on this, but I think a lot of this sort of action sports marketing is kind of built on lies, man. Like the expectation that you're going to go to a resort and you're going to get that insane pow day and you're going to score whatever conditions. It's like, don't sell it on that, man. Sell it on the dude you're going to meet on the chairlift that's going to make your day and buy you a beer after, you know? Like that's, I think, the real resource that this town has to offer is just a plethora of insanely sick people who are willing to go out of their way to make your day awesome. And I think it's a missed opportunity to not use that as like that's the marketing right there. Like you can walk downtown and run into just the craziest, sickest people with the wildest stories that are just homies, you know? That's what makes this place sick.
It's awesome. Yeah. If you had any advice that you would give an aspiring creative, because you have many different outlets, what do you think would be the first stepping stone? Because you are extremely successful for your young age, and I think that is an inspiring factor for the younger generation who may have a hard time trying to find their footing as where they want to be in a world that is very like you have to follow the trend.
Yeah, just make it, and just make it. If it's like, don't worry if it's bad. It's gonna be kind of bad. Make it anyways, and don't ever apologize for making it. No disclaimers. Like, be unapologetically yourself every time, all the time, and you're gonna have fun. Like you just need to go out with your friends, and if it's on the filming side, take a crappy camera. Don't worry about what you're shooting on. That's like the last thing you need to worry about. And make it real. Find some magic when you come home and edit it. Throw your headphones on, find a song you like, and put it together. And if it speaks to you, put it out and never apologize for it. But know that you can probably make something better next time. And just keep finding little ways to make it interesting. Never let it get boring, you know? Like, it's easy to fall into patterns of how you like to create something, but being willing to challenge that all the time is really important. That kind of keeps it interesting after a certain point. Even only like being 4 years into it, I've like gone through multiple different waves of being like how I like to make things, you know? And you got to be flexible because you're going to change, but the only way to do it is to do it. So just go do it.
Logan, I want to thank you so much for doing this, bro.
Dude,
There was
thank
an
you.
amazing conversation and so many like I say, the magic moments, which is
Yeah.
like what I'm always looking for, right? So
Sick.
I want to thank you for doing this and having us here.
Hell yeah, man.
And we'll catch you guys next time.